The Iowa Hawkeye men's basketball team's season is still alive. In fact, it may be outliving what most people expected for the month of March, because I think this win tonight gives them a very positive, very good chance of making it into further postseason play, namely the new inaugural Vegas tournament, the Crown tournament, that is basically the equivalent of the NIT. Iowa defeating Ohio State on this Wednesday, 77-70, the 15th seed. The Iowa Hawkeyes squeaked into the Big Ten tournament after their win over Nebraska on Sunday, and they take down a team that was playing sort of desperate in Ohio State. Most of the pundits had them right on the bubble, right on the edge, as close as you can get. Sounds like most had them in. I'm anxious to see if this affects that at all, because I'm guessing this is not, it's a neutral court loss. I mean, go look to see what it would be. I think Iowa's somewhere in the mid-60s for net. So that would be, I believe, a quad 2 loss. So that doesn't help you. All right, doesn't help you. But this is about the Hawkeyes defeating Ohio State 77-70 behind 16 points from Josh Dix. He is our RTI Threads player of the game. And boy, he makes tough shots consistently with that step back fadeaway. 16 points, 7 of 13, also had 4 assists. Wasn't his best night from beyond the arc. He also scores around the rim really well. He's their best finisher at the rim. And boy, his steady Eddie approach to the game certainly helped them today, I should say, with 16 points off the bench. And he was their most efficient of their 2 big scorers. And namely, of course, we're talking about Peyton Sandfort and Josh Dix. Peyton didn't play poorly. He was just less efficient. 6 of 14 from the field. He's still struggling from 3, 2 of 7 from behind the arc. Brock Harding also had a big first half. Ended up with 15 points on the night. Made a big 3 down the stretch. I tweeted out, in that first half. Credit to Brock Harding because he was showing up and showing out. And there's no question, Drew Thelwell, it's not that Thelwell played badly, but his offensive game has not been the same ever since the injury, ever since the ankle turn. And Brock Harding has played well here of late. I got to give him credit for that. 3 assists, 3 turns, but 15 points for Harding. Again, 5 of 6 from the field, and he's shooting the 3-ball well right now. Now, granted, all his threes are open, but that's what you want from a kid his size and with his skill set. He doesn't have incredibly fast release. Take the open shots. He's making the open shots. Again, 15 for Brock, 3 of 3 from behind the arc. Ladji Dembele, I thought, was really good. 8 points, perfect from the field, perfect from the line, 9 rebounds. I tell you, say what you want about the team, but people like Ladji Dembele, man, there were people writing him off early in the year. I don't write people off, but I've asked Coach Close, who's going to be joining us here shortly, I've asked him, what do you do with Ladji Dembele? Because early in the year, he was getting benched routinely. He's not giving him anything on offense. He's not giving him anything on defense. He's slow. He's not rebounding. I'll give him credit. He's running harder than I've ever seen him run. He's rebounding better than I've ever seen him rebound. Now, this team struggled on the glass today. We'll talk about it. But his 9 rebounds were huge, and he's not forcing shots. He's gotten strong. I don't know that it's a physical thing, more so just a mental thing, understanding how to use his size. We've been talking about his size, his frame. He's 6'8", like 250, 255. He's a big dude. He finally seems to be understanding to some extent on the glass how to use his size, and when he gets opportunities to finish off putbacks, how to finish. Again, 8 points for Ladji, 9 rebounds. Also, I thought Seydou Traore gave him good minutes when he was in there. He got that second foul early in the first half, but he was playing really good defense first few minutes, and I thought came back in the second half and was really good defensively. Seydou finished 2 of 4 from the field, 5 rebounds, 4 points. They just need more offense from him. But again, if he can give them 17 minutes, 5 rebounds, those are good, efficient numbers on the glass. If they can give them those, and he's defending their best player, and I would have liked to have seen him matched up against Thornton more often tonight. Thornton was really good. He's one of the best players in the league. 24 points for Bruce Thornton, 24 points and 9 assists for Thornton, along with 3 rebounds, 8 of 13 from the field. Parrish also finished. That's Micah Parrish for the Buckeyes. He finished with 16 points on 6 of 14 shooting. And then Devin Royal finished 17 points and 6 rebounds. And so the Hawkeyes finding a way to get it done here, and I'm going to get a link over to someone here that's having some problems connecting. So bear with me just for a second, and we will try to do this. All right, let's add our first caller in. We've got Ryan who is standing by. Ryan, it's been a while. Good to see you haven't lost the faith. You're decked out in Hawkeye gear, and the Hawkeyes victorious.
Hey, Corey. Wonderful win tonight. I couldn't be happier for the kids. I thought it was a very nice team effort overall. When you look at the box score, nobody really stood out as like one-sided. It was kind of a little bit of everybody. I was incredibly impressed with Ladji, Brock, obviously Josh, and Peyton had a pretty good game too. You got to keep reminding yourself that arguably the most valuable player on this team has been gone for a while. And if nothing else, with Fran, I really admire the fact that the players are fighting like hell for him. And I've always been a Fran fan for the most part. But today is about, let's kick the hell out of Illinois tomorrow.
Oh boy, you dislike some Illini. I forget about this. This is in today. You just now, if they win tomorrow, and I don't think they will, for the record, I do not think they will. But if they win tomorrow, you're going to be a happy camper, and people are going to start thinking, "Hey, can this team make a run to the weekend?" Because I actually think Maryland is a better matchup than Illinois. I don't think either team match. I don't think Iowa matches up great with either team, just surely from an athleticism standpoint. But I think Ohio State's clearly the more athletic team. Didn't matter today. They got killed on the glass, as you know, Ryan. But I'm glad you gave kudos to Ladji, because you and I have both been frustrated with Laji Dembele all year, and he was really good tonight when they needed him.
He's gotten better this year. He really has. He's seen some strides. He never really came off to me as the kind of player that's going to be great by his sophomore year, or, but I think he's definitely serviceable. I wouldn't quite put him in the Melson Basabi category, in my opinion. But he's definitely gotten better. I like him on the team. He gives you something. And
right now,
he as Bob Hoffman just said, he's rebounding like he's capable of, and God knows we need it right now. We really do. I'm proud of him tonight. I really am. It's been an overall difficult season. And I thought, when you want to go back to 2010, when Licklider was in his last year, it just felt to me like that team quit ages ago. And I can't say the same thing about this team at all. They've had an awful lot of adversity. No, they're not good enough overall. But tonight they showed me something. They really showed a lot of heart. I think I'm going to grab some liquid paper and paste over my driver's license and put a big old bold IOWA on my driver's license, because Illinois sucks. Now, my other thing I just want to talk about, and I haven't been on for a little while, and I don't mean to upset anybody, because tonight is really about let's celebrate the win. And like I said, I'm very proud of the team tonight. I thought we played pretty solid defense, which is not something I say very often. But good Lord, this, all I'm hearing out here is Indiana is doing a full court press to get Ben McCollum. And the guy,
I heard the same thing yesterday about the Clemson coach going to Indiana. So I don't know how much either of those.
Well, I heard it's down to 2. I heard it's down to 2, in at least right now. And I've never really been in the fire Fran mode. As you know, I've never gotten on here and blasted him for as many faults as he may have. He's done a lot of great things too. He would go down as a real good coach. Sometimes I think Iowa fans still have some PTSD for the mistake that it turned out in hindsight, letting Tom Davis walk. But you look at Ben McCollum. Okay, in 1990, 1991, I grew up 20 minutes away from this town called Platteville, Wisconsin. They had an ex-Wisconsin assistant coach coaching them. And my father said, Iowa needs to look at that guy. That guy is a big-time coach. And I'm like, Dad, he's D3. Well, that coach was Bo Ryan. Well, look at Ben McCollum's D2 record. I mean, for as awesome as Bo Ryan at D3 was, and he turned out to be the real deal, this Ben McCollum, he could really turn out to be one of the elite coaches nationally as soon as he gets in Power 5. He was born in Iowa City, grew up in Storm Lake. I don't think you can walk away from that opportunity. And if you don't do it now, somebody is going to pluck him this year. I think it's just absolutely inevitable. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's obviously a hot name. I still think if this job ends up open, Ryan, I think their first call is Darian, if they haven't already. And then after that, I think there's a lot of really good candidates. I don't think McCollum's the only guy. But at the same time, I'll be honest, if you haven't called recently, if you'd been one of our regular callers and you called in with what you just said, I would have said, let's wait till tomorrow to have the conversation. Because I hate to have the conversation prematurely because they're still playing. I understand where you're coming from, and I haven't talked to you a long time about this, but Indiana's always going to have the hierarchy over Iowa, so they're going to get who they want, probably. Iowa's not going to be able to nab anybody over the Hoosiers. It's either they land somebody or that person is likely staying where they're at. So I'm guessing if Indiana wants McCollum, McCollum's going to go to Indiana. I don't know the same thing about DeVries. There's a hometown connection, but let's hope to have that conversation tomorrow or later in the week, Ryan.
I just think, I think DeVries would be a very good 1B option, but I just don't see how you don't do a full court press for McCollum right now. If he says no, he says no. Now, when you're looking objectively, you look at NIL, you look at tradition, you look at attendance, it all points to Indiana. But the flip side of that is, you grew up in the state, the state, and Indiana will drop you like yesterday's habit if you're not the next Bobby Knight. We saw that with, how many times did they have the Golden Boy go to Indiana? Now, you had Kelvin Sampson, but he was just cheating his pants off. You had Archie Miller, and Tom Crean at one time was a very hot name, and they all more or less flopped at Indiana. Now, obviously, they have money and support, that sort of thing, but I don't know. I was thinking to myself today, if Ben McCollum had 2 offers in front of him, knowing that Iowa is 1.5 million more times patient, what's the better move? And McCollum, I think, could do more with less.
Yeah. Well, we'll have this conversation. Hopefully not soon, but if it happens, we'll have it here soon. Ryan, I appreciate you calling in, sir. And if they beat Illinois tomorrow, call back.
Oh, yeah, and I'll be one happy camper, and if not, I'll be in the fetal position crying because I hate Illinois. Thanks.
Well, Bert will be happy, so thanks, Ryan.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. All right. Yeah, Barbara brings up her disdain for Illini basketball. And Lemansky, thank you for the super chat. Never, ever give up. Never, ever, ever give up. Let's add in our good friend, Coach Gary Close, who is live from somewhere. But Gary, man, it's good to see you. You
good to be seen.
These last 2 post games, you've been here and they've won. So there's something about
that.
On
a roll.
On a roll. We're going to get to the basketball. I got to address a couple of comments here in the chat early. Bobby Hansen says, Corey better say how wrong he's been about Brock Harding. LOL.
Is that the Bobby Hansen or is that another Bobby Hansen?
Spelled with an E. You should know that, Gary.
Oh, yeah, I see that now. I didn't see that play. You're right. I stand corrected.
Yeah, I don't think Bobby's going to be tweeting at me or
I don't know.
Live chatting at me.
You're a legend.
Yeah, that's right. Legend. So first of all, as I explained the other day, Bobby, I have made comments on the macro. Now, I will say Brock has helped his cause here in these last few games. He's playing better than he has all year, in my opinion. All year, Gary.
Well, it's a good time to do it.
It is a good time to do it. Now, I don't think he played great in the second half, but he hit a big 3,
huge shot
in the final moments. And let's keep in mind, let's just acknowledge the reality. They're not even in that situation if he doesn't turn the ball over in the backcourt the play before. So he redeemed himself on the 3. Great find by Josh Dix. So I know Doug says I'm a hater since I know he's joking, but if I don't name Brock my player of the game, and somebody said, how can Josh Dix be your player of the game because of turnovers? He had 2 turnovers. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
I don't understand what that comment's all about. Brock had 3 turnovers. So anyways, regardless, Josh Dix was really good. He makes tough shots. We say this every single game, Gary. He was 7-13, their most efficient double-digit scorer, not counting Brock, who had 10. But talk about Josh Dix and just the effort of these guys to figure out a way, even when they lost that lead in the second half and the Buckeyes went back up on top to not let things crumble against a very desperate OSU team.
Yeah, and they sure didn't play like that. I was shocked. As important as that game was for Ohio State, they may have just played themselves right out of the tournament. We'll have to wait and see. 17 and 15 is certainly on the bubble. I think part of it was they handily beat Iowa earlier in the year, and they thought, okay, well, that's going to be the same thing, tonight, and that shows up on the defensive end. And I thought they were very average on the defensive end, and Iowa took advantage of it.
I can't imagine Ohio State coming into this game and overlooking the one game they have to win, their most important game on this.
Yeah, they just didn't look sharp right from the get-go. I don't know. Maybe I have not seen them play a lot. I thought their shot selection was unbelievable. I mean, they took so many hard 2-point shots. I don't know what they shot from the field, and I'd love to know. I mean, you take away the layups they've got, their 2-point percentage must have been just horrendous. They just had some tough 2-point shots. So, but we give Iowa credit. They forced them into that, and they took it. And then their bench again, the second straight game, their bench was terrific. I think they outscored Ohio State 27-3 off the bench, which is obviously a huge advantage. And I think they only missed 2 shots and 1 3. So you're getting that kind of production off your bench. That really helps.
Josh Dix is an interesting one, Gary, because, he came to Iowa coming off the serious leg injury. It took him some time to get up to speed, but he, to me, reminds me of some of the great scorers that have played not just at Iowa, in the conference. And I don't know that he's certainly not as athletic as some of the great scorers maybe, but he's as skilled. I mean, with his ability to hit fadeaways, step back, score around the rim. He's not a big mistake guy all the way. It did have a couple of turnovers tonight that he wants back. But I'm almost surprised. I know that the conference, all conference teams came out the other day. I'm almost surprised he didn't at least get honorable mention. I know Peyton got honorable mention, but were you surprised by that?
A little bit. I was surprised with a number of the selections. But it looked like, for the most part, both the coaches and the media kind of agreed. So when you finish lower in the standings, your kids are going to get probably not as hard or long or as good a look as they would be if they're a little higher up in the standings. But that's okay. He's a really good player that's only going to get better.
All right, folks. So the first half, let's start at the beginning. Seydou Traore, I thought, gave him 3 really good minutes of defense. Can we agree on that? I thought he was really good, but then he got called for a little over-aggressive, maybe a little ticky-tack on those 2 fouls, but he picks up his second foul with 17-plus minutes. And I'm not by any means, I know some people were responding negatively on social media when I tweeted out that was a big deal. It's not about what he's giving them offensively. It's about his defense and his rebounding. And he was good when he played tonight on that end. But, boy, second foul at that point when he's the one guy really hurting Ohio. It seemed like he was the one guy in man-to-man coverage, so to speak, that was hurting Ohio State. He picks up the second foul, sits his butt on the bench. And, Ohio State was struggling to score the ball early. What did you think of Iowa's defense early? And was that more so a result of just bad decision-making on Ohio State's part, or was it Iowa doing something to force those bad?
No, I thought they played, I thought they played a little bit better defensively. I do, as I mentioned, I do think Ohio State bailed them out a little bit with some quick, tough 2-point shots that are exactly what you want teams to take. But it seemed when Ohio State put their mind to it and decided to drive hard, they got some pretty good shots, but I think they kind of settled. But Iowa did a good job of not fouling. They did, for the most part, they cleaned up the missed shots with rebounds and played solid defense, which was encouraging to see.
And Iowa did not, in addition to the turmoil, if you will, with Traore getting his second foul, Brock Harding was playing really well in that first half. Now, his second foul came a little later in the first half, but you would have liked to have seen him finish off the half. Ohio State ended up tying the game up at halftime. Iowa did turn the ball over too much in the first half, and some of the fouls they committed were, they have the tendency to do that. That's part of, I think you and I would both agree that one of Iowa's problems defensively is they foul 20, 30 feet from the basket sometimes.
Yeah, it was better in the second half. Yeah, no. They get reaching fouls and fouls in the post where their arms are coming down, and those are easy calls for the officials.
Yeah, Lodgy had a foul 20 feet out from the basket. Ridiculous. Brock Harding had I think might have been his second foul. It was like 35 feet from the basket. And, but again, they played cleaner in the second half. I don't know that Ohio State ever got into the bonus. They were close, got that sixth foul with several minutes to go. But again, defended without fouling. There were a couple of, I thought the and one that was called in favor of Ohio State was an odd one, because then Iowa had a similar one a couple minutes later on a Josh Dix drive where there was a reach in. He had gathered, reach in, smack down, and he finishes the layup. What is an and one, Gary? Am I wrong in saying that those look like the same play?
That's when you get fouled and you make the basket.
Yeah.
And you go to the free throw and it's an and one.
Somebody accused me earlier on Twitter of not knowing basketball. So explain to me what an and one is, because to me those two plays looked identical. One was called an and one was called on the floor.
Yeah, that's a tough little call to make, because it's all about timing. But no, you're right. You know what it is. It's just maybe the officials don't.
Hey, I will say it's a good crew there. DJ Carstensen led the charge. That's a good crew.
Yep.
And,
DJ's from Iowa.
Is he?
Yeah. He's from up around Storm Lake, I believe.
Wow. Okay. I did not know that. Good to know. So maybe they shouldn't have him on Iowa games. There's a conflict of interest there.
Well, he's been around a long time.
Yeah. All right, folks, let's go to our first caller here, who's been on the phone line forever. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Coach Gary Close. Who's on the line?
Hey, Corey, it's Tony from Des Moines, Iowa.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, just want to let you know there's nothing better than going into work the night shift and Hawkeye victory fueling your energy to get you through that shift.
Absolutely.
So I just want to let you know I'm going to work right now and want to get in on this show.
Yeah, I'm just curious. You are not on camera because you're going to work, or because you're ashamed of the cluttered background that you haven't put in order yet?
He's already cleaned that up.
You cleaned that up?
Yeah, I did. My wife actually had an interview over Zoom for something today, so that's already cleaned up. But yes, a little of both. I am going to work, and the background will be even better with more Hawkeye stuff in the future.
Where are you going to work at this hour?
I work at a casino.
Oh, okay.
I've been in the casino industry for almost 16 years.
Are you a dealer?
I am.
Oh.
I do, and
we may have to come visit your table, Corey.
I work based off of my location.
If Corey and I come to your table, will you give us a little inside?
Yeah, I'm not coming to his table, Gary. I'm not coming to his table. I'll tell you what. I'll meet you at the buffet. I'll let Gary go do what he's doing. I'll go to the buffet.
You're not old enough to gamble?
I'm old enough. I'm not a gambler, but I am an eater. Okay.
All right.
Well,
just be me. Corey's not going to
later. Have a good night.
Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it.
See you, Tony.
All right. Let's go to our next caller. We got Doug. Boy, you guys are loyal to this show. You guys show up every single night.
There's Doug. Doug by far.
Yeah.
I still have a picture on my cell phone of Doug and I.
That's great. Yeah.
Doug has it too. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, probably on Instagram or something like that. I don't think Coach Close has an Instagram page. I don't know, but
no,
maybe.
You're a Facebook guy, right? You're Facebook, right?
Yeah, I'm a big time Facebook guy.
All over Facebook. What'd you think of the game?
I enjoyed it. It kind of went the way I thought it would go. I said that on Sunday.
Me too. That's what I said in the last show. They were going to win.
You did not, Gary, but Doug did. You didn't say they were going to win.
I said I'd be back.
All right.
At least one more podcast.
The disappointing thing on this season is, as my sister's trying to call me, yeah, my internet's not working, so I'm using the phone, but I don't think anyone cares or notices. But the disappointing thing is that's not a tournament team, and the Big Ten, Iowa should have been able to go 10-10 in the Big Ten this year. I don't know. I just think the bottom of the Big Ten is just not that good, and Coach Close might argue with me. I think there is good teams.
No, I won't argue with you.
Don't those two teams have identical records now? Am I wrong in saying that those two teams now have identical overall records? But that's the difference. One of the two teams that play today has like 7 or 8 quad one wins. Don't they?
Yeah. I think they beat Kentucky and other teams. Yeah. Well, no, there's only been 3 teams, and that's what they showed on TV. There's only been 3 teams with 15 losses to ever be an at-large bid. So
Right.
15 losses is a lot. That's the reason why we're not getting at-large bid. We have 15 losses.
Yes,
So,
but to be clear, this is Iowa's second quad one win. They've literally gone the entire season without a single quad one win, and they've had 2 now in the last 3-4 days. So if they win tomorrow, it's another quad one win. You got 3 quad one wins, Doug.
They're piling up.
I mean, maybe if they get to the championship game and lose, they would make it as an at-large. But again, I'm thinking there could be some interesting things happening. And I don't know. One of my things is, how do people feel about going to the Crown Tournament? I know how people feel about. Your opinions probably haven't changed about Fran and his job, but also if they go to the Crown Tournament, Owen's injury and the portal opens before the Crown Tournament too, which is weird. And
that is key, Doug. Real quick, can I just say this is the biggest storyline that I'm following? I'd love to see this team make a run and win this tournament, Gary. But you and I both know with when the portal window is timed, and I think it's a horrible timed event, right? Because you have basketball going into April. But you have the portal window opening, at least a week before the end of the month of March, correct, Doug?
yes,
Here's the problem with that. Gary, if Iowa makes a head coaching change, I think they have to make it right after this tournament. You can't wait, because the problem is if they play deep into the Crown and then you say, yeah, well, we were going to fire him anyways, your next head coach is so far behind on recruiting, and he's going to have to hit the portal hard.
yes.
Wait for your team to finish in the Crown tournament. And I don't know
They won't let him go before the Crown Tournament's over.
That's where you get into some interesting conversations, Coach.
Oh, well, time out. I want you to explain what you just said, Gary. What do you mean?
I don't think they'll make any coaching decisions until the season's over.
Well, then they are hurting themselves, because
Maybe.
you're going to have players for over a week. I mean, if they make a run into the Crown over a week, that are going to be, I think, didn't Xavier hire Sean Miller?
Wisconsin got Tanjay not right off the bat. They got him really late.
Yeah, but
I'm even talking about our own players.
What would be the point of holding on to Fran if the administration has determined that NIT Crown is not what we expect for moving on? I don't know how you can't let him go before the end of the Crown.
Well, I think the classy way to do it, if they're going to do it, would be after the season's over, not while the season's going on.
Business is
that's my point. Is they might have to turn down the tournament because they're not. If they link go with Fran, they're probably. If people are right about Owen and Brock and people hitting the portal, we might not have enough players to go to the Crown. I mean, you get into all sorts of drama here with that tournament being that last week of March, and with the coaching change.
The players can wait. The players can
Yeah,
wait
they can.
and not make a selection. They don't have to enter until early April. What I'm saying is, most of the good players are going to be entering relatively early, especially the ones that aren't in the tournament. There's going to be a lot of good ones that aren't playing in the tournament, and especially teams that are playing in the NIT and the Crown, like you said, Doug. They're going to be entering early. So I happen to agree with you, Gary, on the classy way to handle it.
Yeah, me too.
The problem is, to me, the NCAA has pigeonholed Iowa and all the other programs to where, and if I'm not mistaken, a few years ago, because I remember Jack Nungy played for Xavier, I believe Xavier fired their head coach before the NIT. Then they made a run in the NIT with, was it the same coach? They had told him he's done, but Sean Miller's the heir apparent. Am I correct in saying that, Doug? Like it
was something like that. It just happened a couple times.
They went to the championship without knowing that their head coach was fired before Sean Miller actually took hold of the program, I believe. And I think that's because of the timing of recruiting. I don't like it, but I'm just saying I don't know how you avoid that and don't set your program behind, because that's such an important transfer portal window. That's just my opinion.
No,
you
you're
can still
right.
look the portal while you're playing.
Yeah.
But Gary, if you're playing, Fran's playing, he's not going to be the next head coach. I'm saying they got to get somebody there that can start recruiting, is what I'm saying.
I hear you.
But anyways, Doug, that's just my opinion.
Oh no, and that was my point. And it wasn't disagreeing with Coach Close or you or trying. I'm just throwing out that this could get very hectic, and the portal doesn't help. The maybe coaching change doesn't help. A lot of this could get. But I'm just going. That's the reason why I'm just going to try to enjoy this game and tomorrow's game. And as I've said, they can't that's one of the hard things right now about being a Hawkeye basketball fan, men's basketball fan, is you just don't know what the future has. And you just want to win games. And I really, again, going back to Brock Harding, I thought he played awesome. I'm only give one critique, and this is to Peyton, Brock, Josh. They do that. They post up a guy about 20 feet away. They do that dribble drop step. Coach, you know what I'm talking about? And that's how that – I just don't understand why the weak guy doesn't do that more often, just come up and poke the ball. You think our guys over dribble, Coach Close?
At times, but I think it's hard to find a whole lot wrong with them offensively. They're a pretty good offensive team for the most part. A lot of teams every once in a while over dribble. I thought today offensively they were really, really good, especially in the second half. They got a lot of good shots and made a lot of them. Obviously.
I thought they over dribbled when they were trying to use clock.
Yeah.
You get that catch 22. Do we run clock? Do we run offense? And then you get into the habit of not getting looks at the end of the shot clock. But that's sort of a normal thing, Gary. I mean, we saw Peyton jack up a deep three late in the shot clock, but they wanted to run clock. They were up, I think, 6 or 7 points at that point. So,
yeah. And again, I do think that this team isn't as bad as what people say. Now they have 15 losses and they went 7-13 in the Big Ten, and that was disappointing. But in every game, they played well for at least 10 to 15 minutes. They just need to put 40 minutes together, and I do think if they play well, Illinois is not unbeatable. Maryland's a little bit tougher. I just want to keep winning. It's fun to win, and I'm gonna worry about the coaching stuff later. There's nothing I can do. I wish Beth would listen to me, but I guarantee she won't. And never know. Bombard her with emails or something. I don't know. But,
she should if she doesn't.
Yeah.
What do you want Beth to do? Just to recap.
I would like coaching change.
Okay.
But I don't. But again, I just want a plan. Again, Fran is at the last 3 years of his contract. I don't want a lame duck coach. I'd rather rip off the Band-Aid now than wait. I do think this team will be better next year. I really do. I do think they could be the NCAA tournament team. I don't think it could be a Sweet 16 team. And a lot of that depends on what players leave, what players we bring in, what happens in the portal. I like IJA, the kid from Miami. I like the Lewis kid. I mean, I do think there's – and I think Josh will be an all-conference player next year. I think – If they let Josh do his thing, Josh Dix could be a very good player for Iowa. And again, who knows? We'll see. Thank you, guys.
Doug, thank you.
All right.
You being here.
See you, Doug.
All right. We've got Tom Kakert of HawkeyeReport.com here standing by. Amanda, thank you for reminding everybody to hit the like button. Kelly, same thing. Thank you for being a premium subscriber. And
where is the like button? I'll hit it.
You're the most tech-savvy person I know, Gary.
My wife had to get me on this computer. I was a mess.
You were having problems with Peacock. You're having problems with StreamYard. But you're still
I don't have my home computer with me. I'm on the road.
You're on the road. You're always on the road. Man, for a coach who's retired, you're still out there on the road more than – you're probably on the road more now than you were when you were recruiting players.
I don't think so.
Do you miss that at all?
I'm in nicer places. I'll put it that way.
Do you miss recruiting?
There were parts of the recruiting I liked. I mean, I enjoyed meeting kids and their parents and getting to know them and things like that. I don't know if I enjoyed sitting in a gym on a hot July from 8 in the morning till 11 at night, but watching bad basketball. But it's part of the job.
The made-up source of Iowa football says if they let Brian Ferentz stay 2.5 months after being fired, why would you think they would let Fran go before a postseason tournament? Older Iowa fans and administration seem to have problem letting go. Okay. All right. And SB says need to get Dick some breaks tomorrow. Dude plays hard on both ends. Well, it's postseason play, Gary. There's not a whole lot of time for breaks unless you're like the Iowa women where they blow a team out and you can set everybody in the fourth quarter, but that's not what's probably going to happen here if they keep winning in this tournament. If they're not going to be blowing teams, I doubt they blow either Indiana or Illinois, or Maryland out. And we're going to get to your thoughts on Illinois in just a second. Let's add Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com in here. Tom, live from Indianapolis. Tom, welcome.
Hey, guys. Good to see you.
What's up, Tom?
How are you? Get to stay here for another night?
Yeah. Congratulations on that. good day for Iowa fans once again. It goes without saying. And 2 straight quad 1 wins. As I said earlier, Tom, this team went a long time. I know the Rutgers game was a quad 1 win for a while. They've now hit 2 quad 1 wins, and they're still alive. And momentum can be a crazy thing this month, right, Coach? It can, snowball, maybe.
No doubt about that.
So,
hey, last year we saw NC State 5 wins, 5 days, then 4 more wins and make the Final Four, and then you see the coach get fired the next year. It's
which leads you to believe his butt was going to get fired last year,
yes.
but he screwed things up by winning so many games.
Yes, yeah. Had he not done what he did, he was going to get fired last year. But he got what did he get? Like a 3-year extension. So he probably got some buyout money out of that. But yeah, this was really an impressive win for Iowa. Ohio State came into this game top 50 in KenPom in defensive efficiency, so a really good defensive team. And Iowa went out and shot 55% against the Buckeyes, and over 50% in both halves. And that is really impressive to me to be able to do that, because they've got some players. And you factor in that slow start where Iowa didn't have a point for the first 5+ minutes, and what they're able to do offensively, it was really, really impressive.
I agree. I agree totally.
Really
and they shot well from 3 too.
Yeah.
For the life of me, I don't know how Ohio State doesn't just. I'm not giving up any threes to that team. There's no way. But for Iowa to win, they got to make threes, and you've got to take that away. And I bet they made at least 10 tonight, which was big.
Tom, we're excited when they start spelling your name out in the chat.
Tom's a legend.
Tom. Asa Waters,
I like that.
Appreciate the super chat. What is it going to take to get fans in the stands for the men again? That's a great question, and it's probably going to differ for everybody.
We'll wait till next year to find that out.
Yep, we're not going to know that till even if they make a change, we're not going to know what impact it will make immediately. Tom, first of all, before we I want to ask you a couple of big picture questions, but I almost hate to focus on it given the circumstances. But I want to ask you specifically about the play of Brock Harding, because I've been hard on him. A lot of people have been hard on him. He was huge in that first half, especially during a stretch where Iowa was struggling offensively, and he's been really good from 3. He was 3 of 3 tonight. He has stuck with it and taken what's in front of him. Even late in the game today, bad turnover, travel, is resilient, comes back, hits an open 3 to seal the deal. Just talk about a guy that you know very well in Brock Harding.
Yeah, I'm just so happy for Brock to have a moment like that. I asked him, I go, when's the last time he hit a shot like that in a game? And he couldn't remember. And he jokingly said, I said, well, did you have any at Moline? And he goes, we never played close games at Moline. That's just Brock being Brock. But yeah, he it was a really nice play that they were running with the screen with Laje and Josh Dix, and Josh knew that he was going to be open over there in the corner or on the wing, and just dished it out to him, and Brock just stepped right into it. And he, the thing that impresses me about Brock is he doesn't let a bad play linger. He had that bad turn right before then, and he wasn't going to let that be his last play of the game. He was going to go flush that and just go out and make a play on the next play. And the other thing he did was he really fixed his shot during the off season. He worked a lot with Matt Gatens. I think Kirk Sparrow might have had a hand in it too, the shot doctor, as we call him. And he adjusted his shot, made it a little higher, coming up a little higher. And he said, he's told me several times, it's like, it wasn't working for a while. Everything was just bricks, and he just couldn't make a shot. And he wondered if it was just, he was wasting his time. And then it finally clicked, and it finally started working. And now you're seeing the fruits of that labor pay off. And we should also mention Price Sandport, because he had 3 of the biggest buckets of the night. Ohio State, you knew that run was coming. In fact, I said to Scott Dochterman, who was sitting next to me, I said, boy, if Ohio State gets the lead, I worry that might be it for Iowa, that they may just run off and hide. And they got that lead. Thornton gets them ahead, 58-57, and then Price just comes down and he goes right at the Hawkeyes kid, who's a really good shot blocker, and scores on him, and then scores a second time, and it's 61-58, and Iowa just kind of takes off, and then he hits that massive three in transition that just knew it was good the minute it left his hand.
I want to ask you, Tom, about Fran postgame. I know I listened to him on the Peacock interview following the game, and obviously very proud of Brock, very proud of all his players. But I really thought Laji Dembele, I complimented him early because he's another I was hard on early in the year. And I know, again, a lot of people, he was dealing with the criticism. He was dealing with the bench a lot from his head coach, but Fran never gave up on him. And he's gone from, I remember having a conversation with you and Jess Settle's coach back in December after Iowa lost to Iowa State. And I said, man, this guy can't rebound. He's 6'8", 250, but he's not a good rebounder. He appears to me like he's turned into a good rebounder. Gary, I don't know if you'd agree with that. But he had 9 tonight, and they needed him because it was a hard day on the glass against a talented front court for Ohio State, at least on the glass. Gary, would you agree with that assessment?
Numbers don't lie. He 9 rebounds is 9 rebounds in a big game. So the key thing is, can he continue to do it? It's not just a 1 or 2 game deal. That's when you become a rebounder, when you're when you're putting them back to back and consistently putting up numbers.
Yeah, and I talked to Laje after the game about just his development, because he played really well at Nebraska on Sunday too. Had some big plays down the stretch, some good defense, big rebounds, and he's kept working. And sometimes it just takes guys time with an opportunity. And I think Evan Bronze has really played well too. I think the combination of those two guys has really kind of started to gel, and they kind of filling out their own separate roles. But I think I'm really impressed with what they've been able to do to fill that void without Owen Freeman around.
No, hold on. Let's make sure that we're unmuted. Tom, I want to ask you just a couple quick questions, and hear me out on this, my reasoning on this, because we had this conversation before you hopped on. Gary disagrees with me. I'll just tell you that flat out.
Well, I'm going to agree with Coach Close.
I know you
would. Brilliant minds think alike.
This is not me advocating for anybody to be fired right now. But what I will say is, I think this game probably puts them firmly in at least the Crown tournament.
They were already in the Crown before the game.
Yeah. Okay. So we're in agreement. They're in the Crown.
Yeah.
My thing is, say they go out and lose tomorrow.
How do they determine who's in the Crown?
I know Iowa got a call. Basically, they're going to put as many Big Ten teams as they can.
You've got some inside information. That's why we have you on the show. Yep.
Because it's going to be run by Fox, and who basically owns the Big Ten media rights? It's Fox, so they're going to take every Big Ten team that they can. There's 2 automatics, but they're going to take probably 4 Big Ten teams and put them in the Crown. Let's be honest.
Okay, so let me continue my question here, Tom. So they're in the Crown, right? That's safe. The problem is, and we've seen this across the country, if
March 31st.
Yeah, if Iowa is going to make a change at the head coaching position, I don't know how you can wait until the Crown is over, because what if Iowa makes a run? The portal opens over a week before the end of the month.
Yes, 24th.
You see where I'm going with this? And Gary thinks, well, you can't make a change before the end of the postseason. But the problem is, we've seen Xavier and other teams do that because the next coach has to be able to get into the portal quickly and get a head start on that next class. The NCAA has hamstrung programs into having to make difficult, dumb decisions at inopportune times. Do you see where I'm going with this? And what are your thoughts?
It's going to be an interesting and difficult decision. They may have to just say, we're not going to go to the Crown. And they may not. Here's one of the things with the Crown, that they may not even have a decision to make, depending on what happens with the portal.
Yeah.
Because what I've been told is you have to have 7 scholarship players on your roster that are still playing and not in the portal if you're going to play in the Crown. Iowa's essentially at 10 right now. because Cooper Koch can't play because he's getting a medical red shirt, and Owen Freeman can't play because he's still healing his finger. So, and he won't be ready yet. So, they are at 10. If they have 3 players leave, they're out. It's just that's how it's going to be. So, I
Well, they may not
think
even
we got to
have a
wait.
choice.
Yeah, they may not have a choice.
No.
It's just it's unfortunate, but that may be what happens. We'll see, because we don't know who's going to go in the portal and how that's going to work out. You just never know. And I don't think that's going to influence Beth Getz's decision at all. I think she's got to make a decision, and if they're going to move forward, they're going to move forward. What's funny is I saw a thing today that Butler might get invited to the Crown because they have the Big East affiliation. Can you imagine an Iowa Butler game
There you
Yeah,
go.
in the Crown?
And they probably will do that just to jack
But-
up interest.
Aren't they horrible?
They won today. I think they're 14-19, maybe. They're going to take under 500 teams. I'm just telling you.
Yeah. So
how many are in the Crown? 16?
16 teams, and they
And
want
they
to
all
take
go to
like
Vegas?
and they want to take all kind of big boy conference teams if they can. That will generate some interest. It's a pure Fox viewer trying to get viewership decision. So especially if you're a conference that is affiliated with Fox for your media rights, you're going to see a lot of your programs in there. So could you just imagine though, like a Butler versus Iowa game in the Crown?
Oh, I can almost guarantee that's what they'll do if it.
Oh, it's a
That's
TV made for TV thing. I mean, it would just be incredible,
So do you anticipate, I don't, but Tom, do you believe that if a player were to enter the portal and Iowa would accept the invitation, they could continue to play for Fran?
No, I don't think they'd play. I think most guys are just going to be like, hey, I got to get to my next place, and I don't want to get hurt, and I'm not going to risk anything.
And by the way, to Kelly, I'm not advocating that anybody get fired. I'm just saying if they're going to make a change, I don't know how they don't make a change before that. And the reason they wouldn't have now is because they're still technically alive. This is Big Ten conference play. They're still technically alive for the NCAA tournament. But once this tournament's over, Selection Sunday passes, Tom, I don't know that Beth is evaluating anything with Fran based on how they do in the Crown tournament. So I know she said she's going to wait until after the season, but I think we can agree that doesn't have to be.
The season is the Big Ten tournament, in my opinion, at this point. Yeah.
So, and this is another question that has been brought up, and I say no. Kate says, could Beth force a defensive assistant coach hire and tell Fran he has to follow what he wants defensively, sort of like women's new defensive coach Jan hired? Well, first of all, Jan made that decision. Second of all, it's different than the Brian situation because technically Brian was under the leadership or the authority of the AD because of the Is that fair, Tom? Is that difference?
Yeah, the nepotism laws were different, and that's she was the direct supervisor for Brian Ferentz, so she could hire and she could fire him.
And
at that close.
And
technically Beth could go in there and say, hey, Fran, we want to keep you, but you got to make some changes to your staff. You got to find a young defensive coach that's a whiz that's going to change things. And oh, by the way, you got to get maybe a younger GM or something. She could go in and say all those things, but Fran could say, I'm going to run the program the way I best see fit, and then you're at kind of loggerheads and make it, then she has another decision to make. I don't think any of those things are even on the table. I think it's either she's moving forward with Fran and she'll say something to that effect after the season, or she's going to sit down with Fran and say, Fran, I think we're going to move on from you. You can make this resignation, and here's a nice check, and you can move along, or we can just execute per your contract in terms of a termination. It's one of those three options. It really is. Because no coach likes to be told who they got to hire.
I agree with you totally. And I understood it on the football side because of the situation, the unique situation. But Gary, if you're a head coach, you don't want to be dictated. Like Fran at this point in his career in his 60s, he doesn't want to be dictated by his AD who he should hire, who he should not hire. And if they're going to do that, and that's his own fault, I guess you could say, for not hiring somebody sooner. But if they're going to dictate that, then I might just take my leave. And, I don't need this when I'm in my 60s. Is that fair, Gary? I don't know how you'd feel if you were in that scenario.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yep.
So, Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com. Folks, check out Hawkeye Report. Of course, Tom's got not just Iowa men's basketball coverage, but his whole team busy with Iowa wrestling, Iowa baseball, Iowa women's basketball. We're a few days away from both Selection Sunday and Selection Monday. Tom, anything? Yeah. I got Kyle's name up there, but he's a good guy too.
He's way more important. He's way more important. He's a better reporter than me. So,
well, that's humble
he's
of
better
you.
Looking for sure. He's better looking for sure.
Well, folks, is there anything, Tom, that folks should know about Hawkeye Report right now besides everything I just kind of ran through? What can they find post-game today and pre-game tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm going to have a bunch of stuff from, one of the cool things, we get to talk to all the guys in the locker room after the game. So you get to, it's not selective. And I always like to go in there and talk to him, and got a really nice interview with Price Sanford that I'm going to be putting up about his play in the key plays, and Brock Harding and all those guys. So you're going to hear from all those guys. It's, our subscriber thing. It's $1 for the first 7 days right now. So just stop on by for the week, and, there might be some news this week. Who knows?
Yep.
There's going to be news one way or the other. There's going to be news one way or the other. They're going to go on this magical run like NC State did last year, or the seasons are going to end, and we're going to have to discuss the future of Iowa basketball and what Beth Geff says. I saw, by the way, Beth is here. Beth is here. I did see her today.
Did you run her down? Did you run her down and
no? We just kind of ran into each other, and she was with Joe Parker, the deputy AD, Matt Henderson, Joe Conklin. She was with the whole athletic department team, and headed to a suite to meet with some people. But we didn't get to ask her any questions. I did get a chance to ask her any questions. Just said hello, and but she is here and seemed in great spirits. So I'm sure she's certainly happy that they won tonight.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think all of us would love nothing more than to see Fran make a run. And wouldn't that be something like, I'm not saying it's like 1999, Gary, and you were on the wrong end of that, but if everybody assumed, or a lot of people assumed a change was imminent, but they don't announce it, and then he makes a run to the Final Four. I know we're just dreaming now, but I mean, it would be a great scenario.
Wouldn't it be wild if they won 5 in 5 days, and then the Sweet 16 drought got broke again? Gary, you're gonna love this. Gary, you're gonna love this. So the Michigan State game, I was sitting with Settles watching the game, and we were talking about the Sweet 16 thing, and he goes, I was on that team. And I said, yeah, I know, Jess. And he goes, and I'm 50 years old now. And I said, weren't you 50? I said, weren't you 50 when you left Iowa?
I just saw Jess. He was up for the Wisconsin game. He did the Wisconsin game for maybe Peacock.
Yeah,
and
it was Peacock.
We went out to dinner the night before and reminisced a little bit. Good guy.
Love Jess. He's the best.
Well, Tom, we appreciate you being here. We'll plan on talking tomorrow after a win over the Illini.
Sounds great, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Tom. All right, folks, we got a couple people to talk to here before we shut things down for today. And of course, the big game tomorrow. The made-up Iowa source says, Corey, what do you dislike more, Gabby Marshall or T-shirts with slogans on them? This is a collared shirt. First of all, it's not a T-shirt, and I have nothing against Gabby Marshall. Just like I don't have anything personally against Brock Harding or anything like that. By the way, it was a really nice little step-through move that he shimmied the big guy out of his shoes in that first half. That looked smooth and seamless, didn't it, Gary?
It did. Hung him out to dry.
Were you thinking of me when he made that?
I was thinking of you every basket.
Every play he makes, you're thinking of me. So I appreciate it.
Man.
Steve says, how important is the head coach versus NIL funding? Boy, that's a hard thing to
good question.
measure.
Important. Yeah.
Really important right now. So, Steve, I'm sure Tom packed more than 1 day's worth of clothing. So, Ryan wants to know if you see any similarities in Ben McCollum at Drake and Bo Ryan before he got to Wisconsin, given their D2 history.
Yeah, Bo was a D3.
D3,
I really haven't seen his teams play very much. Their record's unbelievable. So he obviously can coach. Zach Morley played for us at Wisconsin early when I got there, and he knows Coach McCollum. I think they're both from the same town where he had coached previously, and he said the guy can really coach and he's a good guy. So Zach would know. So he's obviously pulled off an unbelievable season this year. To completely new team and win 30 games is off the charts. So that's off to him. He must be good. You don't win 30 games if you're not good.
Yeah, in year one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of wins.
Folks, we are here for a number of reasons. One, because of the legend to my right, but also because of our great sponsors. And of course, if you have not yet checked out RTI Threads, you can support the causes of so many great Hawkeye athletes, including our RTI Threads player of the game, Josh Sticks, but also Owen Freeman, who is nursing his injury back to health, Peyton Sanford. But you can shop your apparel and shop the official logos and merchandise. I got the Dicks from the Logos shirt ready to go. So,
That's
folks,
nice.
be sure you check it out and order in your custom color and your custom size for yourself or your big time fans in your family or friend zone. Again, Hawkeye athletes all featured at rtithreads.com/NIL. Just click on the NIL athletes tab over at rtithreads.com and shop their NIL division. You can also click the link in our description. It's one further way that you can support this show and Hawkeye athletes. Let's go to our next caller who is on the phone line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Coach Gary Close. Who's on the line?
This is Brock's uncle and Coach's long-lost brother, Paul.
This is Brock's uncle and Coach's long-lost brother, Paul.
That's what you guys called me the last time I called.
Oh, okay. Well,
I got it now.
Yeah, you're going to come in here to try to
I'm going to sit up a little higher in my seat. That one over my head.
Yeah, you're going to try to stuff some crow down my gullet, aren't you?
No.
All
Corey.
Right. Yes.
You're wonderful.
Thank you.
So let me get this straight.
Okay.
Beth is going to get rid of Fran. We're going to hire some guy, who knows who at this point in time. A bunch of our players are going to jump into the portal. And then this coach is going to recruit a bunch of new players out of the portal. And if we don't have enough money to keep the ones we have, I doubt if whoever we get in the portal is going to be that top notch. But they're going to be a bunch of strange guys. And somehow they're going to fill the seats at Carver. You've got to be kidding.
Well, first of all,
I mean,
real quick,
when we can still watch our daughters who come in as freshmen and stay at Iowa all 4 years.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, that's more of a reflection on where
I just don't see that scenario working.
Well, that's how it's working everywhere else. I mean, that's how college.
Oh,
basketball.
it has? Where I don't know.
Well, it's happening everywhere.
Maybe at the 5-star factories.
Well, no, I mean, well, yeah, but I mean, Drake's an example, local, that Ben McCollum took over in year one. They're really good. Now, Missouri Valley, but they lost a head coach to the Big 12. Let me just real quick I want to make sure you understand where I'm coming from in the whole conversation about timing. Part of why I think timing is such an issue with the portal window and postseason play is also not just because of players that the potential new coach would need to go out and get, but it's also that new coach. And Gary, I think you and I would probably be in agreement on this. Part of his duty would have to be, first and foremost, recruiting the current players to keep them from hitting the portal. So we're talking guys like Josh Sticks, guys like Owen Freeman or Brock Harding, guys that you want to retain. That's going to be the other part of the portal window. You don't want to lose guys to the portal. So that's why the reason I think timing is no, it's not ideal. Do I think it's going to fill seats immediately? No. But I mean, it is what it is. They don't have a perfect answer. There's no guarantees in this. And it is what it is. Like I say, the NCAA has hamstrung Iowa and a lot of programs to make some difficult decisions given timing. The transfer portal window, I don't know why it can't just open mid-April. I have no idea.
That sounds logical to me too.
But that's what it is, and I just think you have to. Unfortunately, you have to play the game, or you're going to be behind, even further behind.
Well, I can't hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. I don't know. I couldn't hear. I can't hear it. I have you muted on TV, but well, okay. I think we're kind of coming from we're hemming and hawing about this portal and the timing and whether she lets it go before or after or wherever we go. And I don't know. It seems like to me that I don't know. It just seems kind of like you're between a pillar and a post. And if Getz has got somebody in the wings, if she's got another Jan Jensen in the wing, have at it as far as I'm concerned. But man, if you're going to start gambling on somebody that may or may not work out, and lose $4 or $5 million, man, that's to me is a bad bet. And I'd much rather see if the current team and the recruits can be retained. I'm for letting Fran have a couple more years, and if he may be 65, but she's also the athletic director, and she can surely sit down with him and say, look, we got to do this, or then he has to make a decision whether he wants to stay or go. And then, I'm all for him leaving if he doesn't want to make some changes. But that's basically all I have to say.
So let me ask you real quick. Can I ask you a question, caller?
Say again.
Can I ask you a question real quick before I let you go? So sure. I do want to bring up one thing in response, because I think I know where you stand on this, but I want to know, he's signed through 28. So if they give him 2 more years, what do they do with the contract?
I don't know enough about the business.
Did we lose you?
I'm sorry. I didn't hear all of what you said, Corey.
No. What I want to know is, what do they do with the contract? Because, Gary, you and I both know you have to be able to extend a coach long enough to where he can recruit. If a coach isn't extended at least 3 to 4 years out, how do you recruit? If they retain him for 2 more years, they're going to have to extend him. And so in 2 years, okay, now he's 67. The program maybe has gone further into the hole. Then you have to buy him out anyways. Yeah, maybe you are able to negotiate a smaller buyout. But I don't know. Gary, do you have anything to add on this?
I think you pretty much covered it. Maybe, it's always been in the past you extend them out just for the recruiting. Now maybe with the portal, that's not as big a deal. I don't know. I'm not.
Yeah, maybe the portal
is the case.
Maybe they could. Maybe they could get. Here's my thing: if they were to somehow win 5 games in 5 days, I don't expect that. But if they did that and made the tournament, I might consider keeping him 1 more year to see the direction of the program next year. But the regular season is the regular season. It was not up to expectations. Just because you won 5 games in 5 days during 1 week does not mean that overhauls everything else. But I may keep him on 1 more year, but then I think I have to make a decision because of that contract. And you're running a risk because fan apathy is at an all-time high. So, caller, you're right. There is no perfect scenario here, but that's why Beth got hired, and she's got to make these difficult decisions. Gary, you've known a lot of ADs. That's a hard job, right? You got to be able to know when to hire and fire.
That's probably their most important job is, assembling a strong staff. So, no, I agree.
And this would be her first. This would be her first significant either. Obviously she was involved in the Brian Ferentz situation, but that sort of was laid out before she got there. He was not going to meet the criteria of the previous administrator's contract that he had agreed to with Brian Ferentz. So that decision was basically happening either way. She just sped the process up. This is going to be her legacy on the line as well as Fran's.
Yep.
Anything else, caller?
Oh, I could ramble on forever, but I appreciate you giving me the time you gave me.
Absolutely. We
Thank you.
enjoy your phone
Thanks for the
calls.
call.
That's a good call. It's a thoughtful caller.
Yep.
I can understand
And a few other programs are probably going through the same thing.
Yeah, this is happening every year.
Yep.
With the portal and NIL and
in our league, in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
I think Minnesota's might make a coaching change after what happened yesterday. That's a possibility. We talked about Nebraska. Indiana already is. So
yeah,
a few like that.
And Nebraska nearly made the big dance. They nearly
a couple of weeks ago they were in the big dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right. Let's go to maybe our last caller. Last call on the phone line, 515-635-1601, or you can join via StreamYard. And we have got Corey here. But Corey, before we get to your comment, I want to thank Asa Waters for her super chat, or his or her super chat. I really hate how basketball has gotten away from development of players and now just tries to find the most talented available in the portal. I think Asa is echoing the thoughts and feelings of a lot of people. Gary, would you agree with that?
I agree with the portal part. I think it's frustrating for fans, especially, you enjoy watching a kid develop, from the beginning. And so I get all that. Development of players is still important. And I think that the better teams develop. That's one of their strengths is they can develop players. But I get it. To see somebody there for a year and go to another place and then go to another place and go to another place, that's not fun to watch.
By the way, to visual proof, who's upset because they just tuned in and instead of getting recap of the game, they got another anti-Fran bleep session. Well, first of all, we're an hour and 12 minutes in. So if you're just now tuning in, you're bound to miss anything that was said about the game. So move along if you don't want to be here. But Corey, sorry, I don't normally say that to people who are entering for the first time, but
you're getting tough.
Well, I'm getting sick and I'm getting tired, Gary. You ever been there?
Sick and tired?
I'm sick and tired. Corey, anything? What you got to add to the conversation?
My shouts go out to Kelly Emerson, Lemansky, and I still retained my ray of light for.
I see that.
For Commander Cody. Commander Cody, if you're out there, the ray of light is for you. And I'm going to shed some light on this subject in the form of Chat GPT. All right. As an expert, as the most knowledgeable expert on college basketball, what is the fate, of Fran McCaffrey? So let's just scroll down. This is not emotion-based. This is Chat GPT, which is strictly logic, okay, and a lot smarter than a lot of us. So if you look, it talks about
interesting.
If he has a bad season next year and he loses, he's gone. Okay, so let's just calm our emotions for a moment and think logically. Okay, there's been very few Big Ten coaches that have been let go or that have resigned with no recent losing seasons. I think Tom Crean bordered on that, but I don't think he actually had a losing season, but he was let go. And you had, what's the gentleman at Maryland? He was let go. I think he started 5-3 in the season or something. Yes, Turgid. Yeah. And
the guy at Maryland's done a great job.
Yeah. And so anyway, there may have been one other coach that I can think of. But if you look at it, Fran's not had a losing season in 10 years. Okay. And
well, that's not first of all, that's not the metric that anybody cares about, Corey. And
no, but that is a metric for firing.
This isn't Iowa football.
This is a metric for firing coaches, though. Losing seasons are a metric that triggers triggers the firing.
I very kindly disagree with you.
Okay.
The measuring stick is postseason appearances and postseason success. Ask Tom
Okay.
Davis.
So
Ask Tom Davis. How many losing seasons did you guys have at Iowa, Gary?
that was done dirty. Tom Davis was done dirty.
Whether it was done dirty or not, I'm just saying you're saying that it's based on winning seasons. That's just happens to correlate with tournament play usually. And I don't think that's going to make a difference whatsoever because their resume is horrible. Their resume is horrible right now. They've got 2 quad 1 wins, and they have wins against a lot of cupcakes. So I don't know how you make a decision based on overall win-loss record.
Okay, so let's fire Fran and let's bring someone else in with the same NIL arrangement. And you're not going to change much. Now, with the revenue sharing, you're going to change that. But let Fran experience that revenue sharing benefit and let's see what happens with Fran. I mean, he's trending upward. He's got recruits. He's recruiting better than he's recruited in recent history.
But wait,
So-
trending upward with recruiting. He's not trending upward with anything else. Fan attendance is down. Wins, NCAA tournament success, and appearance is down. They've missed 2 straight. They're going to miss this year, assuming they don't win all the way to Sunday. So, I mean, you're kind of not.
So I'm watching the Twitter warriors and the Facebook warriors.
Logic, Corey. You started with logic, and you're going back into the Hawkeye Homer realm of why we love you so much, but you're going away from the. Ask Chat GPT if Fran McCaffrey is trending up or trending down. You let me know what it says.
He's
How did you ask that question? I want to know what it'll say.
Chat GPT doesn't follow trends. Chat GPT uses logic and history to predict the future, and it uses data. It doesn't use emotions or people that demand I want chocolate ice cream now or I'm running away from home.
I do. You know, chocolate ice cream sounds really good, but Kyle says Chat GPT does not know results of games within the last year, so the statement would be applicable to Fran's status last year, meaning even Chat GPT thinks he should go. Interesting. I don't know how true that is, but that's an interesting statement.
So I guess as a person that grew up throwing the football in the streets while Nebraska spanked us 48-0. And then I ended up making my way into the Hawkeye locker room in the 80s a few times. And I'll just say this. Laji Dembele is developing. He's starting to resemble a guy or get doing some of the dirty work of guys like Ed Horton, Jeff Settles. Okay, he's trending upward. You look at the guy that you said's not a Big Ten point guard, Brock Harding. He is a Big Ten point guard, and he won the game tonight. Hold on a second.
Can we just wait for a second? First of all, when you say he won the game tonight, what does that mean?
He had the cojones to knock down that shot.
Okay.
You can let anybody take the shot, but in order to win the game, somebody had to make the shot. Just like Coach Jan says, I'm not interested in good takes. I'm interested in good makes. Well, that was a good make. So
that was a good make. I agree. We agree on that. But to say that he won the game in the second half is probably jumping the gun a little bit. He played a lot better in the first half. He turned the ball over, I believe, 3 times in the second half and scored 5 points. Now, I'm not saying he was bad in the second half, but he did not win that. He made one big shot there at the end and a pretty nice drive and score with maybe 4 to 5 minutes to go in the game. It was a big one when they were cold. I'm giving him credit, but I'm just saying let's calm our horses.
Now, I'm going to mention a name that's done something similar in games before. And if you want me to pull up the tape, I'll find it because I've mentally placed the check. Caitlin Clark has turned the ball over, which has likely cost us the game, and then turned around and shot the game winner. Okay,
Brock
so
Harding is not
you
Caitlin, but go ahead.
you gotta have this, the killer instinct, and you gotta have it here in the heart to be able to come off of a choke turnover on your own end. You can't even get it across half court and you turn it over and then turn around and just set and fire that absolutely pure and it's game winner. That says something about character. And Fran mentioned that. And you look at the development of a lot of these other players that are playing down in the post and and they're against, it's a total uphill climb and they're getting better. They're not, their attitudes, they're not hanging their heads. That's a sign of a character team that's in a character coaching staff. So it's, you know what, life's easy. And when you're winning, oh, you can be a great coach and it's easy. But what's your coaching practices indicate when you face hard times? Do you freak out and start throwing your players under the bus, or do you stand like a man and take it and keep working and trying to keep building your team and work as hard as you can to improve, like Kirk Ferentz and
Oh my
like Fran McCaffrey?
All right, real quick.
Okay.
Hey, Corey, I know where you stand. Let's just.
Yeah, you know where I
Yes, yeah.
stand staunchly. And
He is
all the Twitter
at
fingers,
fire.
all the Twitter fingers, and all you YouTube battle warriors, guess what? I'm not moving. I stand where I stand.
Real quick, I just want to say I looked at the official box score. I want to give credit where credit is due. Just so everybody's aware, these are official numbers. I just got the official. For some reason, Iowa hasn't posted it on their website yet. But the first half statistics for Iowa, specifically Brock Harding, he played 11 minutes. He had a plus minus best of the team, +7 in the first half. 11 minutes, had 3 assists to go along with where are his points? Let's see, 10 points, 3 of 3 from the field, 2 of 2 from 3, 2 of 2 from the foul line. Again, 3 assists, 0 turnovers. He was really good. Second half, all right, I'm just going to read you the stats for the record. 12 minutes. Brock Harding had 5 points, 2 of 3 from the field, 1 of 1 from 3, 1 rebound, 3 turnovers, and again 12 minutes and a plus minus of 1. So I'm just giving you facts.
Okay.
He was really solid tonight.
And how's their defense trending? Okay, so we're talking about players improving.
Their defense is not trending well.
It's trending better. Coach Close, I can quote him as saying that the defense was a little bit better. Okay,
yeah,
so
a little bit better.
So I think that when all the chips are on the table and they're against all the odds,
okay,
and they're still improving and they're still together and they just knocked Ohio State out, I think that that's an indication of a good coach. I think that indicates there's some.
Real quick, I got to stop. David Alexander agrees with you. He says Fran's situation reminds him of Brad Brownell. Clemson fans wanted him fired for years. Then last year they made the Elite Eight. Sometimes doing nothing and keeping a good coach is a smart move. So for the record, I am not saying you're wrong. I happen to disagree with you, Corey, but your opinion's fine. And I don't know that we should really have this discussion until the season's totally over anyways. And it's not, because if they win 5 games in 5 days, they make the tournament, and my opinion changes. So let's have the discussion then. But there is a difference between Brownell and Fran as it relates to, I don't know about Clemson's attendance, but age is the big thing that stands out. I don't know how long Brownell had been there, but I totally respect your passion. You know I do, Corey.
The gauge of a great coach is ask his prior players.
And his players love him. His players love him.
They love him, and they will do anything for him. And they're coming after all you haters, okay?
That's fine. Because come after us as long as they want.
Because they know that, man, and you guys don't. None of you are in the locker room. None of you know anything. All you know is what you see.
No, we know what the results are, Corey. We know what the results are. And by the way, for the record, I have a lot of respect for Nicholas Bear and these different people who played for Fran. But there's something called bias. There's also something called bias, Corey. So I'm not saying I agree with you. They love him. And if he was not a player's coach, they wouldn't love him. You can't deny that. But there is something called bias. And if Beth is weighing what his past players say, what their opinion on if he should be fired or not, if she's weighing that, then she needs to go. In no way should you ever, as an administrator, go back to former players and say, what do you think? No, this is a game of what have you done for me lately? Like it or not, that's what it is. So, Corey, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to rattle off your final heroic, passionate stance.
Yes.
Tell me how wrong I am. Go ahead.
I love Iowa sports because Iowa sports has always been loyal and faithful and trusting, and they don't flinch like all the other ADs that choke and flinch and fire the coaches because they're chokers. Okay. Iowa ADs have had the cojones to stand up to a few weak haters, and they've had the cojones to have the patience and trust in good coaches that they employ, and they don't fire them. They screwed up once, and that was Tom Davis, and they paid dearly, and they better not screw it up again, because you'll see my loyalty totally shift about 2 hours west if they screw one of our great coaches of this program, and I'm a swarm contributor. And thank you all, and have a great night.
Thank you,
Thanks
sir.
for the call.
He
Like
is
that
passionate.
passion.
He is passionate, that's for sure. I didn't know he had the same passion for Fran that he has for Kirk, but apparently he does. So as Bobby says, let this guy give the halftime locker room speech every night. All right. DC Hawkeye, thank you so much for the super chat. Says Corey was spot on a few nights ago. You need a new coach to reignite the program because you cannot have Carver 1/3 filled. Fans have lost interest in Fran, the lack of even minimal success. The bloom has been off the rose for a few years now. Thank you, DC Hawkeye. Totally respect your opinion. Just like I respect Corey's opinion and his passion as well. Doesn't mean I have to agree with either one of you, but I respect the passion. Certainly appreciate the donation. Thank you, DC Hawkeye, for that. And by the way, in response to what Corey said about, well, I'm going to go root for the team out west a couple hours, a lot of people are just going to say, "C'est la vie." Good riddance, because you can't say, well, I mean, you can. You have every right as a fan to say, I'm done if they do this. But ultimately, there's a lot of other people that have an opinion. So I know for me, this is a business, but I'm also a fan at heart. I'm going to watch this team next year if it's Fran or if it's Ben McCollum or if it's Gary Close, who's resurrected his career and is back and is just I want to see you as the head coach of Iowa someday. You ever thought about that, Gary? You thought about coming out of retirement?
You're really sipping that hot sauce.
Hey, you wouldn't even have to move. That'd be a nice little commute. What's the commute between Madison area and Iowa City?
3 hours.
3 hours? Yeah. No big deal. A little bit further from South Carolina. But anyways, I do appreciate the passion from everybody involved here. Lemansky, thank you for the super chat. Iowa is lower third in NIL funding, and that's not going to necessarily change, especially not immediately, whether they make a change or not. So it is what it is. But he says, I'm proud to be a Swarm member as well. Be a great Hawkeye teammate. Well, folks, we appreciate you all for being here and for being part of the show, whether you called in or donated or just threw a comment up in the chat. We're going to get to this comment in just a second, Aiden. Do they have a chance against Illinois? Eric says if they make the tournament, make the Sweet 16, still moving on from Fran. I think I stated earlier, I would probably pause. So that's why I really don't need to have we're having the conversation because I know people want to talk about it, but let's just wait for this week to pan out first. And Bobby says, I'm all for firing Fran, but if he gives us a Sweet 16 after all this, we got to keep him. So there's the opinion. And by the way, Asa says Asa is a man's name. I went to high school with an Asa that was a female. So I'll just quickly admit that. So that's why I didn't know male or female. But now I know. I'll try to remember that. So anyways, and Asa says that he'd still watch if I was the coach. So how about that?
That's a true fan.
Yeah, because there'd be some really upset fans out there for a number of reasons. So Paul says players want to play for Fran. Fran has an eye for talent. That's true. And Kelly, happy with the comments there from our caller, Corey. Let's see here. There was a comment. Kelly, thank you for being here. Appreciate that. Barbara, same thing. Thank you for being here. Melly says, I really don't think Iowa has the draw that you all think it does. The money, the facilities, the swarm doesn't bring in enough. Kerry Lewis, I'm a Hawk for life. Everyone has rough patches now and then. I'll support them, whatever Beth decides. So I appreciate that perspective. That's a perspective that I appreciate because ultimately we don't have total control. We have very limited control over what Beth Getz does. The people with money have more control, but the people that are just the average fans, like it or not, just do not. All right, Gary. Aiden wants to know about Illinois. Tell us what the keys to this game tomorrow night.
That's a good question. You know, they're playing well. They've had 2 big wins last week after they had a struggle there for a little bit. So it's not a great matchup. But I think one advantage, they have played a game. I think sometimes the team that's been there and has played a game's got a little bit of advantage over the team that's playing for the first time. I think they got to play similar to the way they played tonight and try to keep it, you know, within shouting distance and then make some plays down the stretch and beat them. I think you know, getting off to a good start and then just not letting it get away from them and give themselves a chance to win it in the end. And they've got players that can make shots. So it'll be a fun game to watch. I'm looking forward to it.
Illinois, after going through a rough stretch where they lost to 3 ranked teams in a row, gave up 110 points to Duke. They come back. They've won 3 in a row, including a 20-point win at home against Iowa and wins at Michigan and against Purdue. So this is a team that's playing hot. Again, they're rested, but maybe more rusty than Iowa. Now, Iowa's not all that deep. We didn't see Iowa go with Riley Mulvey tonight. We saw very little play out of Carter Kingsbury. I mean, somebody brought up fatigue. Gary, your experience with tournament play, I mean, you have Josh Dix log 36 minutes, Peyton logs 35, but nobody else in the 30s. Do you see teams fatigued this early in tournament play?
Probably not. I mean, those are pretty significant minutes, but you know, it's more of a cumulative effect. Maybe if they advance, you know, heading down the road here a little bit. But I think tomorrow night, I think they should be fine as far as that goes. Just with you know, just having played one game.
Folks, 5:30, the tip-off tomorrow night on Big Ten Network. The Hawkeyes and the 7th seed, that is the Illinois Fighting Illini. It will be televised on BTN. And, of course, come right here for post-game coverage following the game. If you have questions on sponsorship, you can reach out to me, info@fromthehawkeyeofthestorm.com. We do want to thank RTI Threads. They've got our Owen Freeman, Peyton Sanford, Josh Dix merchandise, rtithreads.com/NIL. And folks, don't forget to check out and get your free quote on insurance from Brad Van Meter and his State Farm team down in Des Moines. Give Brad a call at 515-256-6480. He will be open tomorrow morning and ready to give you an absolutely free quote on homeowners, life, auto, boat, and so much more. BradVanMeter.com, or you can visit him in person down on Fleur Drive in Des Moines. Again, his number, 515-256-6480. Again, Brad Van Meter and his State Farm team. Gary, I think we covered everything.
We did.
We beat this game into the ground, and we beat all the the off-season talk into the ground, and we'll talk more about it, I'm sure. Regardless of the result tomorrow, we're going to have more to talk about. This is going to be an interesting game against Illinois. This is a team, just like in today's opponent, Ohio State destroyed Iowa when they played earlier in the year. It was close to a 20-point win. Illinois destroyed Iowa. It was a 20-point win for the Illini here just a couple weeks ago. So Iowa reversed the trend today, and we'll see if they can do that tomorrow. Gary, thank you for being here as always.
You bet. Good to be here.
Folks, for Coach Gary Close, I'm Corey Brada from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Talk to you tomorrow night.